All right, so we're diving into something pretty big today. Really living life, you know, like finding that spark, that flavor in our day-to-day.
Absolutely.
Our listeners, you guys sent in some awesome excerpts from The Flavor of Life,
Yeah.
Reclaiming Authentic Experience. And
Great
book.
book.
Yeah. And so we're going to kind of try to figure out how to move beyond just, going through the motions.
Right.
And really savor what's around us.
I love that idea. And I think the book does such a good job of sort of waking us up from what can often become this kind of like automatic existence, you know? It points out that we often kind of operate under all this external pressure, all these unwritten rules of like how it should be.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we miss out on the richness of our own actual, direct experience. And
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful, that idea that life is less about, reaching some destination.
Right.
And more about like really being present for the journey itself.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of like tasting reality.
Wow.
It makes me think about like when I've eaten a really good meal, but I'm also like scrolling through my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Like the food's amazing,
Right.
but my attention is just like totally divided, and the whole experience just feels so much less.
Diminished. Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like the source is suggesting that we kind of do this with our whole lives in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. And if you think about it, like the difference between, just hearing music in the background versus actually like listening to it,
Yeah.
noticing the, nuances of the melody, the rhythm, the different instruments. It's
Yeah.
like, are we really present for the soundtrack of our lives, or are we just kind of letting it play without actually tuning in?
Mm-hmm.
And the book really seems to argue that that active engagement,
Right.
that's the key to unlocking that flavor.
So the source actually gives us some like really practical ways to start doing that.
Yeah,
To turn that passive listening into active engagement.
Love it.
The first one is so simple, it's just feeling the body. It emphasizes that our physical selves are just always in the present moment,
Right.
constantly sending us all this information that we just totally take for granted.
It's amazing how often we kind of like override or ignore all these physical signals,
Yeah.
Our bodies are these incredible sensors,
Yeah.
always giving us data about our environment and how we're feeling internally.
Yeah.
And just by like consciously tuning into those sensations, even something as simple as like the
Yeah.
feeling of your breath or the weight of your body in the chair,
Yeah.
that can really ground us in the present moment.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed how like a really intense physical sensation can just like snap you out of your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Like, stepping into a cold shower,
Yes.
it just jolts you into the here and now.
Totally. The second practical step the source gives is asking, is this flavorful enjoyable for me?
Ooh, I like that.
Which feels like a direct challenge to all those shoulds that we let dictate our lives.
It's such a radical act of self-inquiry because we are so often driven by, external validation or these perceived obligations that we totally forget to check in with our own internal compass, And I think asking that question, is this flavorful, enjoyable for me? It just pushes us to move beyond that autopilot.
Yeah.
And really evaluate, does this experience actually nourish me in some way? Does
Right.
it make me feel more alive?
Right.
So it's about really prioritizing our authentic responses over all those, shoulds and expectations.
Okay, then we have stopping and savoring.
Okay.
This one sounds like intentionally hitting pause
Yes.
in our crazy busy lives and just really taking something in.
Being present.
Yeah, the source talks about paying attention to all the little details, the smells, the sounds, the textures.
I think about how many times I've walked through a park and not really seen the intricate patterns on the leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Or really listened to the specific sounds of nature.
Totally.
And when we actually stop and we engage all of our senses,
Amplify that experience.
Right.
It's like drawing out the richness that's already there.
It's like when you see a wine connoisseur really smelling and tasting the wine.
Exactly.
They're not just drinking it, they're really experiencing it.
Engaging with it, yes.
The final piece of advice is playing instead of just performing. I like that. This one really speaks to me because it suggests bringing a sense of lightness and engagement
Yes.
even to tasks that might feel kind of routine or tedious.
Yeah. This is all about mindset because even in those repetitive tasks, there's often room for like a little bit of creativity or finding a different way to approach it.
Totally.
Like, could you do this more efficiently?
Yeah.
Could you find a way to make it just a little bit more enjoyable? And I think it's that shift from feeling obligated to feeling engaged.
Right.
That's what we're going for. Think about like a musician who has played the same song 1,000 times,
Right.
but they can still find these little nuances, these moments of joy in the performance.
Yeah.
So the source is saying that by doing these things, by feeling our bodies, asking about flavor, stopping to savor, and choosing to play,
Yeah,
that some pretty big transformations can happen.
absolutely.
One of them is that everything starts to feel more meaningful because we're actually experiencing it.
It's a natural consequence of being present, you know?
Yeah.
When we're really engaged with something, when we're putting our attention and our energy into it,
Mm-hmm.
that creates a sense of value.
Totally.
It's the difference between passively, taking in information and actively participating in something.
Yeah.
Remember it more. It feels more important.
The text also talks about shifting our choices towards genuine pleasure,
Yes.
moving away from what we think we should do
Right.
and towards what really brings us satisfaction.
Absolutely. And this is all about aligning our actions with our own internal motivations.
Mm-hmm.
When we choose things that we truly enjoy,
Yeah.
we tap into this huge source of energy and fulfillment. It's not about just chasing pleasure for pleasure's sake. It's about making choices that truly resonate with who we are
Right.
and actually add to our well-being.
And this is really interesting. The source says that when we start living in this flavor,
Yeah.
the world around us actually starts to kind of adapt.
It's like we become the center of our own reality.
Yeah.
And it's subtle, but it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Because when we know what brings us that flavor and we consistently choose those things,
Yeah.
we naturally start to shape our lives
Right.
in a way that reflects that.
Yeah.
Our priorities become
Yeah.
clearer.
Yeah.
And we may find that we start attracting experiences and people that actually match up with our true desires.
So it's like living from a place of self-awareness.
Exactly.
The source ends with a really encouraging point,
Okay.
reminding us that we've all had glimpses of this taste of life.
Oh, yeah.
The key is to just consciously turn away from a bland existence.
And I think that's so important. It's not about achieving some kind of constant bliss or anything. It's about recognizing and celebrating those moments of real connection, joy, appreciation
Yeah.
that we've all experienced.
Yeah.
And it's about making that conscious choice to prioritize those moments
Mm-hmm.
and to really resist just drifting into a monotonous life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the flavor of life, it seems like the core message is about reclaiming our role as active participants in our own lives.
Yes.
It's about being present in the moment and choosing those things that truly resonate with our own individual flavor.
I love that it's about moving from being a passive observer
Right.
to being an active participant in our own lives.
So on that note, here's a little something for you to think about.
Okay.
Consider one area of your life. Could be work, could be your daily routine, could even be a relationship where you feel like you're kind of on autopilot just going through the motions.
Yeah.
How could you bring in a little bit of playfulness, a little bit of conscious savoring
Yeah.
into that area this week?
I love that.
What difference could it make to the overall flavor of your experience?
Great question.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.